right, we're back. Hey guys.
All right. What's up?
What's going on? Another day in paradise, right?
That's right.
We want to welcome everyone listening to our 13th episode of the A is A podcast, where we believe truth is the cornerstone to your success. So we're going to dive right into today's topic. It's something I know that everyone can benefit from, and we're looking forward to sharing some cool information with you. Andy, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a simple topic today, but like Josh said, it's one that I think about a lot because it's just so foundational and something that everyone needs to kind of keep in mind at all times and remember. So today we're going to talk about just keys to success in the gym, just really basic, fundamental keys, mindset type stuff that especially I think new people to working out maybe haven't thought about this before, and it just kind of gets you off to the right start with any exercise program that you're beginning. So if we want to just jump right into it, I figured I'd start off with warming up and the importance of warming up. And, you know, the benefits here being, there's the obvious one, reduced injury risk, right? If we warm up our tissues, warm up our muscles, ligaments, tendons, all that stuff, they're more pliable, more elastic, they're less stiff, you're less likely to pull something, cause an injury, right? But on top of that, better performance. I think a lot of people forget about that one. You know, you're trying to, maybe you're really looking forward to the workout today. There's some PR that you're trying to hit, or you're trying to do better than you did last week. And it's amazing how much a proper warm-up will improve your performance in the gym. And that's actually one of the first things I wanted to ask you guys is, I wanted to ask you a few things on this, like how important is the warm-up for you? You know, do you guys focus on that? Because a lot of people neglect it, and I've been guilty of that in the past. And how long do you warm up for? What are some of your favorite warm-up movements? If I wanted to just, you know, maybe Josh, if you wanted to answer a couple of those, is warming up important for you? Do you do it every time?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, you know, unless it's like an easy bike ride or something like that, there isn't a time that I don't warm up. If I'm going to be doing strength training, any kind of advanced body weight type stuff, I'll warm up sometimes for 20 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like rowing or jump roping, like it's very, very skill specific.
Yes.
So if I'm doing like, you know, one arm chin up work, you know, supplementary work like archer chin ups or negatives or something like that, I'll do, you know, a scapular band routine. You know, I'll foam roll my lats and my chest, you know, my pecs. Like I get very, very specific. If I'm working, so I won't overcomplicate it for the listeners, but I'll take the workout and I do micro progressions for the warm up, right?
Yes.
I see you guys nodding, so I'm assuming
that's my favorite thing to do. Yeah. Yep.
So like if I'm doing handstand push-ups, I'll do 3 sets of maybe 8 floor push-ups or ring push-ups, or maybe, you know, if I'm working muscle ups, I'll do some ring dips and then some chin-ups. Like I sort of break down what I'm going after. And then if we get into straight strength training, like a deadlift, all I do is to start with the bar for my warm-up, you know, and then I'll add some weight, see how it feels, work on some different stances. If something feels a little tight, like my hip flexors, I'll foam roll them for 5 minutes, but it's very aware around what I'm looking to do, and then is it feeling right or warmed up?
Yeah, I love the direction you went there, because it's the same thing I wanted to say is a lot of people for their warm up, it's just going to be like some jumping jacks, maybe getting on the rower, you know, they're just trying to like warm up their body temperature basically, but they're not being very specific as far as like what movements are we going to do today, and let's try to warm up those muscles and those patterns specifically. Get your mind connected to the muscles that we're going to use. And you know, like you said, if you're doing handstand push-ups, you're going to do some very light overhead pressing, and you know, try to get the muscles that you're going to be working functioning and working properly. Get yourself connected to that movement before you go into the heavy sets.
Well, I think it allows me or anyone to gauge where they are that day too.
Yep.
So if I'm building slowly, whether it's in a deadlift or a push-up progression or, you know, some kind of, you know, chin-up work, and it's just not feeling right, or, you know, something's a little sore or off or this, that, you can tailor your workout before you get to your workout based on your warm-up. And that's my life. So
yeah, I love that. I like the mini progressions thing where I'm almost trying to do my workout before I do the workout. I'm just doing a very easy version of it.
And Andy, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Is that, for me, I do warm up, but it's just lighter weight
On
for
the
what
exercises you're going to do.
Correct. So like today I did, squats, bench press, and I did bent over rows. But my first 3 sets of those were, very lightweight, maybe not just the bar, but maybe like, 25 pounds on there or something like that.
Right.
And then working it up by 10-pound increments over those 3, and then jumping up to actual working sets after that.
Yes, I love the idea of if you're doing 3 sets of, let's say, whatever it is, squats, and there are going to be some heavy squats today, you actually do 5 sets, but the first 2 are just with the bar only, or even the goblet squat, and then, very lightweight for the first couple, just to kind of get your body primed to do the movement that you're going to be actually working.
Yeah, because I definitely noticed that first set that I do, like my joints are a little stiffer. I'm not quite as loose as I should be. And it's like normally by the second one, I'm a little bit better. And by that third one, I know that I'm good. So then I can start jumping into my working sets.
Yeah, you want to be executing perfectly and firing on all cylinders by the time you get to the ones that you're actually trying to get the benefit out of, the working sets, like you said. Yeah, anecdotally, it blows my mind how much a warm-up helps. I'll just say, like, Josh knows that one of the exercises that I'm always trying to work on is the one-arm chin-up. It's a tough movement, and sometimes I've been able to do it, sometimes I can't. It's one that I'm trying to get to the point where I can do consistently and really well for reps. But the best one-arm chin-ups that I've done are when I go rock climbing. I'll go rock climbing for 3 or 4 hours, and that's like, that's way more than you need for a warm-up. But it's really funny that after like a few hours of easy climbing, I can grab a hold and do a pretty good one-arm chin-up. And I'm like, geez, I wish I spent this much time working out or warming up before my actual workouts, because sometimes I do better, like I said, after a few hours of climbing than I do in my actual workouts, which just shows me I should be warming up a little bit more.
That's really funny you mentioned that, because I've noticed somewhat recently in the last month, like being outside doing more like lawn work and more like light manual labor, sometimes I'll hammer out an hour of that and then go out to the gym. And it's like, oh shit, like I feel real good.
I wish Bill had like 2 hours to warm up with just like some general like play type stuff ahead of time. I remember for some of my workouts, and this actually isn't specific to my workout, but I used to love when I worked out here in my basement, I would spend an hour outside shooting baskets in the driveway, just my basketball and my hoop. And I'd go out there with the intention of just kind of warming up my body or whatever for like 15 minutes, but I'd be having some fun, and I'd end up out there just shooting baskets for an hour and a half. And I feel fantastic when I come in and I have a tremendous workout, It is a shame that most people don't have the time to spend, an hour and a half playing before a workout, but it just does hammer home the point of how important that warm up is. When you're truly warmed up and your whole body is loose and warm and feeling good, and you've practiced the movements you're going to do, you're going to get a massive performance increase in your workout.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of people, maybe if they're not at a high level of fitness or strength, or we know that they're operating at like 60 to 70% effort, right? Because they're working on form and technique and, just fluid movement, everyday functional stuff. Their warm up can be a little less because of that. And I recommend that honestly for most people listening, is like, if you need to warm up 30 minutes to pull heavy deadlifts, you better be at that point in your training career, right? To be pulling really heavy deadlifts and needing a 30-minute warm up. Like, me and all the 3 of us have been training since, 9th, 10th grade, like pretty consistently. And so our training age is quite high, meaning our warm up and being specific in certain things is very high. But the generalists out there, the 2 or 3 times a weeker, the good form, I want to live longer and feel better, 10, 15, 20-minute warm up, skill specific will work. But understand that your only at the 60 to 70% effort going in. I wouldn't be
Mhm.
warming up 5 or 10 minutes and then just rip my max power clean.
Yeah, no, you just won't be able to.
No.
Yeah.
And
So,
something's gonna break down.
yeah. So this is a good eye-opening experience for me. Maybe I should actually start warming up more and playing a little bit more before my workouts.
Well, you wake up early. That's pretty tough.
But yeah, I mean, I get up early and I am pretty busy. So
Yeah.
I noticed the one area that I don't need a great warm up with, and again, there's 1,000 examples of this, but like with aerobic work. So if I'm doing a rowing workout or, a Z1 run or swim or, you can 5 or 10 minutes get the blood flowing and maybe take a lap or two to warm up or something to get the lungs primed. But when it comes to strength training or even advanced mobility or anything that's truly stressing the body that therefore will need to adapt to something new, whether it's a weight or range of motion, the body needs to be primed for battle, essentially.
yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, I love that. That's everything I wanted to hit on that one. My next one, Josh already started talking about this a little bit, but focusing on form.
Mm.
And I think, this is one I really want to hammer home. I think the hardest part of almost any exercise usually, for the majority of people anyway, is executing them to perfection. This is where all the benefits come from, is actually doing the exercise you're trying to do with absolutely perfect form and mechanics, which takes a long time to learn, and it can be really frustrating. But it's something that I think people need to be a little more concerned with than maybe a lot of people are, is perfect technique, perfect form. Once again, one obvious reason for, why form is important would be reduced injury risk. Bad form is often bad because it puts some other area of your body at risk. If you're doing a deadlift with a rounded back, then you're putting a lot of pressure on your lumbar discs, So I would say that perfect form strengthens your weakest links. Most exercises challenge like several areas of the body at once. Not only are you working a certain muscle, but you're also having to brace and stabilize in certain areas and so on. And if your form breaks down, it usually does so at the weakest point in your, at the weakest link in your chain. So for example, or an area of less control or an area of poor mobility, but it's your form breaks down in a spot where you need more work and more attention generally. So like, again, the back rounding in the deadlift, that's your spinal erectors not working properly. Or, if you're trying to do something that's a straight arm work and your elbows are bending, maybe you have a lack of shoulder mobility or something, but there's some weak point there that's causing your form to break down. And that's something that we don't want to rush past and just increase the weight on. We want to actually fix where the form is breaking down. I don't know. I would love to see more people focus on that. And as a trainer, I'm trying to hammer that home more than anything in a lot of my exercises with clients.
And I think that's why it's very important to have a trainer, because when I was younger and, dumber, I was always focused on lifting heavier and lifting more to try to prove that I was getting stronger. And so whenever I first started lifting, especially on the squat, I was definitely doing more than I should have been. I couldn't get down to even 90 degrees on my squat. My abs were definitely not enough, not strong enough to support my back, in some of those movements. So I was leaning forward more. I was, rounding my back. It wasn't straight, as it should be. And I wasn't going low enough. But I kept pushing through. And, eventually I started focusing on form more and started doing it right. I had to lower my weight. Like I had my weight really high. I had to check my ego. I had to be like, listen, this isn't right. I need to focus on getting down to 90. I need to focus on having a natural position in the squat, not trying to force my knees one way or the other. And, and when I did that, now I've slowly worked back up to the weight I was doing before, but I no longer have a lot of those same pains and issues that I was having.
I love that, because we all want to progress, but usually people think of progression as lifting more weight than last time or than they did last year or last month or whatever. My favorite way to see people progress is to see their form improve. Even if the weight goes down, you know, if I see someone goblet squat with a 40-pound dumbbell and it's not looking so great, and we work on form and technique, and then they're doing it with a 25-pound dumbbell, but it's picture perfect, that's progress in my mind. Like that's the sort of progress I want to see with everybody, for exactly the same reason you said, like less aches and pains. Like our goal in the long run is to have you move better and feel better, and perfect form always feels better. Like once it clicks and you're doing it right, than doing it with poor form where you're putting stress on an area of the body that you shouldn't be.
Yeah. And I want to bring up another thing about like cheat reps and stuff like that, because that's pretty popular. And as other people, if you watch a lot of other YouTube videos and a lot of other stuff where they say, oh, you should do 1 or 2 cheat reps at the end of everything, or you should do 1 or 2 cheat reps at this, that, or the other thing,
and
right?
To clarify, when you're talking about cheat reps, you're talking about ones where you allow yourself bad form at the end of the set just to get a few extra reps, right?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
And
or your spotter tells you that it's all you, bro. And it's really 80% them, and you know you're herniating your back, and you know.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think sometimes, in some cases, very rare, that they can be beneficial. You know, it can help get some of your weaker muscles to help you lift some of these, you know, heavier weights that you're not used to.
Yeah, I will say that cheat reps are a very advanced training strategy where you have to know what you're doing. They have to be utilized properly.
Right. They're not for beginners. They're not for even probably intermediates. They're for advanced level lifters. And it's only in very rare cases where I will choose to do a cheat set to try to help me get through like some sort of very tough plateau that I'm in.
Yeah, and I would say with cheat reps too, you actually have to already have perfect form in order to perform a cheat rep, because otherwise all of your reps are cheat reps. So you have to actually know how to do it correctly to begin with, to make sure that your first, if you're doing 10 reps, your first 8 or 9 reps are perfect. And then you know, okay, now I'm starting to break down a little bit here or there, whatever, and you make the decision to do a cheat rep in a specific way. But you already have to know what perfect form and perfect technique are to even utilize cheat reps.
Correct.
Yeah. So the perfect form comes first. The other thing with perfect form is that it works the muscle that we're actually trying to strengthen. You know, you're doing an exercise for a specific reason, and perfect form is going to target that muscle perfectly. Whereas when your form breaks down, you're going to be compensating with other muscles that you're not necessarily trying to use. So when you see people doing, let's say, bicep curls, and they're swinging their back to get the weight up, you're lifting more weight, but you're not actually working the muscle that you're trying to work, the bicep in that case. Or if you're doing overhead press and you're arching your back, you're doing that so you can get the chest involved. But the point of that exercise is to work your deltoids, you know? So
that was the one point that I had with this was exactly that, like efficiency within your workout. So if you're doing, let's say, bicep curls to work your biceps and you want to work them maximally, but you decide to just like, you know, arch your back and swing around like to get more weight up, you're actually only activating at maybe at a 30 or 40% level as opposed to 80 to 100. And you're just losing reps, time, energy. To me, it's a waste. And so
it's a waste.
It is. And so when my form goes, generally I'm done before that, hopefully just to keep the quality high. But if it's done, it's done. And that's that. Like you're not helping anyone else, you know, and definitely not yourself. And if that's you're stroking your ego there to go farther, I would work on that also.
Yeah. At that point, you're just putting unnecessary stress on your body, and you're not actually achieving any progress in the lift that you're trying to achieve progress in.
And now you also brought up perfect form. You know, it helps you utilize the correct muscles, you know, during the lift, and I believe that's definitely true. But there was one in particular where I thought I was doing it right. I was trying to use perfect form, full range of motion, and that's on the chin up or the pull up.
Okay.
And my biceps were able to essentially cheat with, you know, my back a little bit to help me get that pull up, but I was never really great at them.
Yeah.
And And it wasn't until, and I think you guys mentioned it in your mind muscle connection for the warm up, that whenever I actually would work on getting my mind to connect to using my lat, which was very important for that exercise, that's whenever I really started utilizing the correct muscle groups, even though I thought I was doing correct form, but really I wasn't.
Yeah, you're using a little too much bicep and not activating the lat as much as you wanted to in the chin up, huh?
And I was wondering why I wasn't getting that nice V taper or anything. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? So.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So that's form. Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to start hammering home with a lot of my clients a lot more. It's a tough thing to help beginners learn because, boy, I mean, mechanics are it's a long process. You know, there's so many different things to focus on, but it's a rewarding path if you do actually focus on perfect form and get picture perfect technique over time. So the next one I had was putting in effort and or having intention when you work out. And this is one that I wanted to touch on because I think it's almost funny to have to mention this one because it seems obvious, but it's actually a really big one. A lot of people, when they work out, they just kind of go through the motions, which is not effective. And it just leads to months and months of working out without any real progress. I think it's a common problem, especially among people newer to training, but even like advanced lifters as well. Sometimes they sometimes have this mentality where as long as you're going to the gym and you're doing some stuff and moving around, then you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know, almost as if like going to the gym for an hour means that you're going to get in shape. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, it's what you do in the gym is what actually matters. And actually putting in some focused intention on trying to get stronger and trying to push hard and work on the things that we're trying to work on is what gets you the results. So I don't know if you guys have seen much as far as, like I said, people just kind of going through the motions sometimes.
Yeah, I love that topic there. This point, like I would hit the reverse button a little bit there and say, like, if someone isn't focused or feels as though it's just mundane or going, like you said, going through the motions or not aware of what's going on within the workout or why they're doing what they're doing, like they don't need to be trainers or like geeking out hard, but they got to give a shit. I would question why you're there. Like why are you either working with a trainer or even just going to the gym by yourself? Do you even really want to be there? And if you don't, why? If you do, why? Like those are some questions. Like when I find myself doing exactly what you said, which it happens to all of us, I ask myself, like, what the hell's going on in my life right now? And is it stress? Am I injured? Am I too sore? Am I overtrained? Have I had too many rest days and now I don't have enough oomph to get going? Is the workout itself not stimulating or exciting? Do I not have a goal in front of me that I'm pursuing that relates to this? Those are all like little micro things that are going through that if I'm not dialed in, and I don't mean dialed in terms of performance, I mean acute, like cognitive connection to what you're doing.
Yeah, but
it's very much about motivation. I mean, you want to have a clear intention and goal so you can stay motivated and actually want to put in the effort because you know what you're working towards.
But yeah, like, so I think some people may use it more for a stress relief. Like, you know, you mentioned stress and you're like, maybe stress is affecting your workout, but sometimes people just want to, I see it all the time at the Y. People just go there to talk and have someone to talk to. And all that. And it's like, okay, yeah, they're still doing some lifts. They're going through the motions, whatever, but mainly it's social hour for them.
I think that's a great point, Ricky. Like, so then that person needs to get clear on what they're pursuing. Because legitimately, you are so right. I think like 50% of like community fitness centers and stuff, the benefit is community. Like, I agree. It's amazing. But if your goals physically are X, Y, Z, and you're doing what Andy said, going through the motions and just in brain fog central, you just got to get clear of why you're doing what you're doing. So
Right.
if it is to go to the Y and grow out and hang out and make friends or get a girlfriend, or like, all that's really great stuff. But are you making the areas of improvement that you say you want to be making? I would wager not, unless you're gauging that based on new friends and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the questions that you started with, Josh, where you said you got to get clear on your why, like, why am I here and what am I doing? Because that whole social thing that Ricky just brought up is a great, that could be a tremendous benefit of going to the gym.
Yep.
And if your reason for going to the gym is actually for some stress relief, just to kind of move around, feel some endorphins and meet friends, socialize, like, if you feel better after the gym because you've just been hanging out with good friends for an hour, and you decide that's the benefit that I want from the gym, then you're not doing anything wrong there. That's great. But you're clear on your why. You know that I go to the gym because it gives me stress relief and I enjoy it and I've made good friends, and that's why I go. In which case, awesome, keep doing that. But if your goal, if your why for going to the gym is I really want to get stronger at this or this, or I really want to achieve this or this, and then you spend that time just socializing and hanging out, then what you're doing is not conducive to your actual goal. So you gotta get clear on what you want to get out of the gym, and then like put in the effort to get that, whatever it is you're going for.
There is a huge benefit to what Ricky brought up with the community aspect, and getting clear on that. And I'll dive down into it quickly, but let's say that you are coming from an unhealthy, unmotivated background, and then you join a community, co-movement, a Y, whatever, and you sort of just float through your workouts and whatever, but you're around more people with health values. You're having healthier conversations, hopefully. You're getting inspired and seeing new things. All of this can be a huge catapult to a new lifestyle, to what we're describing as like laser sharp focus, and all these goals and pinpointing awareness and muscle groups and all that. That's a long bridge to walk. But if you spend 3, 4, 5 years involved in a community, and we see this at co-movement all the time with many people, that their physical progress might not be huge, but their change in their confidence, self-esteem, how they talk about health, how they perceive awareness with sleep and nutrition, that transcends to another level that would not have happened if you sat at home.
Being immersed in a community of positive people who are motivated, inspired to like kind of live a good life, and who are healthy and who are always talking about that sort of thing. And then just going in and like I said, being immersed in that culture and feeding off that energy is hugely beneficial, even if you're not progressing so much in your workouts at the moment. I was actually going to say, Josh, like, how many times have we seen clients who are with us for a few years, and maybe the first year or the first 2 years, they don't make much progress at all, but you can see the shift in their mindset and their mentality. They become happier. They're becoming more social. They're learning their way around the gym. They're starting to have fun. And then all of a sudden in the second year or third year or fourth year, they start making tremendous progress because they start focusing on like the movements and stuff more. But there's a whole learning phase that comes in that initial year with a gym, where you're just kind of soaking in the mindset of those around you.
And I think that, in my opinion, is the desired path for most people coming from an inactive, unhealthy background.
Absolutely.
It will create long-term change.
Right.
If you go from, inactive to super motivated New Year's guru, and bridging that gap is hard. To stay with it. But the people that stay here forever are the ones that have done almost exactly that.
Totally.
You just described. So I would prefer to see more of that, and if people take pressure off themselves, like stop saying I want to lose 30 pounds in 6 months and bench press 300 so I can post it to Instagram. Like, get rid of that and just say, like, this is what I want my new lifestyle to be, my friends, my values. This is the setting. This is what I want to believe, read, and research, and then just slowly immerse yourself into that, sort of detached from something specific that could lead to frustration or burnout. Depending on the person, obviously, there's 1,000 examples, but I think that the generalist could benefit from what we're talking about with this topic big time.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I brought that up. That was actually just one of my points I wanted to bring up, but but it seemed to stem a very good conversation, I thought. Yeah. But the other thing was, I think a lot of beginners don't know how to push themselves. So when you say you see these people going through the motions and they're not really working that hard, I think people work out till discomfort kind of hits. And I think that kind of stops them sometimes. They're like, oh, my arm's sore. Let me stop real quick, or let me take a break. And I think something that beginners need to learn is their threshold of what they're actually capable of. And maybe that would just be like trying sets of 10 with a certain amount of weight with good form and trying to see how much weight you can do for 10 good reps of something. And then that can be like a baseline of where you are on that exercise.
Well, and I'll add to that. I think that's a great point. And I agree totally. I think that's where a coach comes in, a professional. Because I know in myself, I've gone in many phases with coaches, without coaches, this and that, and goals. And I will say that I am much more confident in following a training plan through a discomfort stage when someone that is smarter than me is telling me what to do to follow them.
And they've done it before. And they've been through that discomfort themselves.
Big time. And that's coming from my background.
Right.
How you get someone that is new to the whole realm of all of this. I agree. And tell you the truth, my default, if that was me, would be to avoid discomfort. Like, you don't know if your heart's going to explode. You don't know if your back is going to blow out because you don't have the connection. But a coach that's watching for specific cues and form and progressions and, all of this, you can put your trust in them if they're a good coach. And then I think that's much easier for us to get people to dive there.
Yeah, but it definitely, once you, I can't remember exactly how you worded it, Ricky, but you're right. Like at some point to get stronger, you are going to have to put in like the effort to try to push yourself past what you've done in the past. So if your baseline is being able to do, whatever it is, 10 reps with a certain amount of weight, you want to have an understanding of that and then try to get to a higher weight or more reps or something in the future. You just kind of knowing like what your ability is right now and then trying to push to a new level of ability. Sometimes beginners do lack the willingness, the desire, or just the understanding that they have to make that little push and that little bit of extra effort to get to that next level. But yeah, that's just like Josh said, that's where a coach comes in to tell you, you can do this, we can get one more rep and help you through when that is appropriate. The next one that I had was this one that we talk about a lot, Josh, doing the boring stuff. Because we see a lot of people out there who kind of flip between programs really quickly. 1 week they're doing one thing, the next week they're doing another thing, next month they're signed up for one gym, the next month they're going to another gym. They're always trying to like change it up and do something new because they want to be entertained. They want workouts to be fun. And I try to I would like to tell people that, it's called working out. Work is actually in the name. It's not always like entertaining and fun. Now, when you've been doing it for a while and you start to see progress and stuff, and you start to get an understanding of how much benefit you're getting from this, it does become intrinsically rewarding just because you actually see yourself improving. You start to make that connection of this is really good for me. And then you start to really like it.
And it's not always instant. Sometimes it takes time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Ito said years ago to me that, because I think I was one of those whiners that sent him an email like, oh, my wrists are sore, can we do something different? And his stoic response was, it doesn't have to be fun to be fun.
Yes.
Period. And that's that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something I think that we have to remind ourselves and be clear with, like, are you in the entertainment industry, which in that case, you can put a DVD in and jump around and do a bunch of unique, weird stuff? Or are you looking to make progress? And if you're looking to make progress physically, the vast majority of your training is boring. And I'll break it to everyone listening. The fitter you get, the more boring your training is.
Yes. Yeah.
Olympic athletes.
The most effective training is often very boring.
Very.
Yep.
And it's very, very, very specific and not simple. It's actually very complicated. Very.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you think Michael Phelps is doing, you know, like a PIO DVD, like you're not. Like he's swimming and he's doing different energy systems and deload days and microcycles, but it's all swimming.
I'd like to compare it to like trying to improve anything else in life. You know, if you're trying to, if you're a student and you're trying to, you know, get that degree, studying isn't entertaining. It's not fun. Like you're putting in the work. You're saying this is the stuff that I need to do and learn in order to get to where I want to be. Or anything that you're trying to do, you know, whether it's building a business or some hobby that you're trying to improve at. You know, if you're trying to learn how to play guitar, you're doing these boring scales over and over again, you know, learning chord progressions. It's not entertaining. It's not super fun. You know, it can be if you really understand why you're doing it and you kind of geek out on it a little bit, but you're actually there to work on something. And like I said, work is actually in the title, you know?
And I think, and I've noticed this in my own life, that people, and myself included, need to stay with a goal or area longer to develop true proficiency. And I don't mean high level. So I'll give you a great example. Me and swimming. Okay. So like a year and a half ago, 2 years, I could swim, sure. Could I swim good? No. Would I call myself a swimmer? No. So I told myself I want to get to be a good swimmer, not performance-wise, but technique, capabilities, confidence. So I realized that taking 1 or 2 lessons would not help. Like I needed to actually commit to it like 1 or 2 times a week for a few years. And like we talked about before, pay attention to the form, learn how to breathe to both sides, like diagnose the process. Like Tim Ferriss always talks about, like he just talks about hacking things. Like we're not getting world-class in any of this, but to spend enough time, whether it's in CrossFit or biking or rock climbing or jujitsu, like to where you get a base, but a true base that you can take a year or 2 off and come back to it, but you still have a base. It's like for us with handstands, right? Like we could take 2 years off and come back and within 1 or 2 training sessions be back to where we were, not maybe performance-wise, but base-wise. And I think too many people, like you said, Andy, transfer from thing to thing to thing over 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, and they never build a base in anything. And then they look back 5 years later and their performance, and again, it depends on their goals, right? Like entertainment versus fitness and this and that. But if your goal is to build bases and proficiencies within areas, you need to spend more time there. And I would say not chase performance, but chase knowledge within it. And so like Ricky, Taekwondo, like, and we see this in jiu-jitsu, like, you know, 6 months or a year, you know, and then they're out, poof, gone. Like no base, like within 3 months, that base, the little base that you did have, poof, gone. But you do it 5, 6, 7 years, even 2 or 3 years consistently full in, you've got a base.
I love it because I think people should think of their training a little more often as practice. You're actually practicing these movements, practicing these lifts. Just because you've done a certain amount of weight once for a certain number of reps doesn't mean it's necessarily time to progress to the next weight or the next, you know, rep scheme or whatever. Like spend a lot of time there, ideally several weeks, maybe several months, just practicing that movement and getting good at it. You know, if you're able to do dumbbell bench presses, you know, whatever, 3 sets of 10 with like 40-pound dumbbells, great, but stay there for several weeks and just get really good at that, because maybe 8 weeks later, you'll be doing the same weight and the same number of reps, but you'll be performing them better. They feel better. They're moving better. You're more connected. Like if you can actually just think of your workouts as you're practicing these things, again, maybe that's a little boring. It's not as much fun as jumping up in weight every week or whatever, but having that mindset that you're there to practice and get good at these things may not be flashy, but it's more effective in the long run. You're building that huge base, that huge foundation that you can then build off of in the future.
You know who's a great example of this is, and there's many, but Bob at Garage Gym Oneida.
Yeah, tremendous.
Tremendous example of this. Like overall, great athlete in pretty much every area, but Bob commits to something. And he never, and me and him talk about this all the time, because me and him are like true generalists. We're really not great at anything, but we're okay in a lot of things. Like Bob will develop foundations in areas he chooses. So let's take the bodybuilding example. So he, went from, one background to saying, I want to be a bodybuilder, like an actual bodybuilder, like a real hypertrophy-based bodybuilder, compete. He got his pro card, did what he said he wanted to do, built a great base, and then he moved on. And then he transferred over to more body weight, CrossFit type stuff, and got very proficient. He competed quite high level. He did well. And then he moved on, and now he's doing trail running. And he's getting to be extremely good at trail running.
He just did his first 50K ultra marathon.
50K.
31 miles.
And this is the guy
on trails.
Again, this was the guy that was 205 bodybuilder at 6 foot, and now he's 185. And he's, like you said, 50K. He's learned the technique, the training cycles, like he's building a base, and he's not going to be a world class in that either, right? Like all of us, but he's building these bases to where if Bob tomorrow wanted to jump back to bodybuilding, within 3 months, he could probably step on stage.
Right. Yep.
So.
Now, there's something that, we kind of went off the topic where people change around their workouts, all the time. But I mean, I think I fell into this trap whenever I was, younger again. I did a lot of stupid things. And I fell into that mentality where your muscle remembers. And so it's kind of like, or muscle adaptation, or I forget what the terminology was.
Yeah.
But the thing was, your muscles get used to a certain exercise. So you got to constantly change it up so that you constantly gain more muscle. And
that was the whole, you're thinking of like muscle confusion.
Confusion. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So that was a big topic for a very long time. And people were like, you got to change it up constantly in order to get big in the gym. And slowly but surely, people came back around and said, that was a neat little tidbit, I guess. And it didn't work. Yep. What you guys are saying is you need to stick, it's better just to stick to those same lifts and make those small progressions over time and constantly increase either your weight or increase whatever your performance is or technique or whatever it happens to be. Yep. But working on those over a long period of time on a set of exercises, that's how you get bigger. That's how you get stronger. That's how you get
actually
better.
One of my other topics, but you already hit it. And this actually could easily go in the do the boring stuff topic is consistency. Yep. Exactly what you just said. And maybe it is boring to be like, we're going to be working on these few skills that we've identified that you really need and that you really want and you want to improve on. And we're going to be working on them for 6 months or a year or whatever it is. Maybe that's not as exciting as like, we're going to change it every 4 weeks, but in the long run, that's actually going to get you to where you want to be. Whereas jumping around isn't going to do that.
So I'll add to the muscle confusion piece because you're spot on with this.
Yep.
We do need to confuse the adaptation process, right? So what I mean by that is weight changes, rep changes, tempo changes, sets change, rest changes, range of motion changes, right? There's all these variables within the same movement. Do you know what I'm saying? So we could say, deadlift, right? Well, snatch grip deadlift, deficit deadlift, banded deadlift, chain deadlift, 5 reps of deadlift, single deadlift, endurance-based reps, right? go on and on, but we're still deadlifting.
Yep.
So
A
that's
good
really-
example of that, Josh, would be my client Lori, who has been pursuing a 300-pound deadlift, and she recently did a 295. So she's like right on the doorstep, you know.
Yep.
But she's been deadlifting every single week with me for at least the last year, if not more. But you're right. So there's the consistency there of we're always practicing the same movement, but every 4 to 6 weeks we change it up. She's doing deficit deadlifts right now. We've done snatch grip deadlifts. She's done single leg deadlifts. She's, you know, hex bar deadlifts and so on. So we are confusing the adaptation process. Like you said, we're manipulating a few variables there, but she's still working on the same movement.
Yeah.
Right.
With consistency.
And that's what's important is, working on the same movement in different ways, beneficial.
Yep.
What the whole marketing scheme and what everyone jumped on, that whole bandwagon, was change everything up every single day, do something different in the gym, and that just ain't gonna fly.
No. You find yourself a year or two later never good at anything, or any better. You know, for sure. But
one last thing that I wanted to toss in on the boring topic is I think part of the reason that a lot of people want to be entertained and want to change things up so much is everyone needs fun in their life, right? Like we all do. I want to have fun. I want to play. I want to like be entertained and so on. I think hobbies help a lot here. Like I was thinking about this myself when I was this past weekend out rock climbing. The fact that I can go rock climbing once or twice a week, that's where I get my fun and my play, and I kind of get that out of my system, so that when I go into the gym, I can then just focus on, my workout might be boring, so to speak. I might be working on some kind of basic or fundamental foundational sort of things, and I'm not really being entertained so much maybe. But I don't need it so much when I'm in the gym because I get my play outside. So if for some people who feel like they want to be entertained in the gym, like I would encourage them to try to find some hobbies and stuff where they can get that play and they can get that fun and that entertainment in other areas of their life, so that they're not craving it so much when they come into the gym, and they can actually focus on doing the boring work, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd go farther with that too. I agree 100%, because jiu-jitsu is that for me.
Yep.
I get in 3 times a week for that, and then like 1 or 2 days a week in the gym. You know, no matter if it's boring or not, like it's just, I got my other entertainment somewhere else. But I would have people question that if going to the gym or getting their quote unquote workout in is a drag, they should look at different training variables. Like what I mean, mechanisms. So like, if you don't like going to the gym, maybe you don't go to the gym. Like maybe you get on your bike. Maybe you set a goal with hiking, or you get into swimming or racquetball or rock climbing, or there are hundreds of things that could just, if your goal is just to be healthier and feel better, and you know, there's hundreds of ways to do that.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you know, and I'm short selling ourselves here because we are a gym, but my gosh, like, you know, it truly, like, if you're like, I gotta go to the gym, like, because I want to be healthier, I can give you 1,000 ways to be healthier that will have nothing to do with the gym. And so
go do yard work, go for walks with your kids, go swimming, go camping, go hiking,
take dancing lessons,
any hobby that you love doing. Go play Dance Revolution at the mall if you want.
Like I think more people would be more consistent and more inspired and moving more if they did shit they liked.
Yes.
And that's where the gold is. Like, you know, there's a lot of things physically I have no interest in doing, and therefore I don't do them because I can skin the cat a different way, you know? But I think that's a big conversation that people should have with themselves. They've been telling them the certain story forever, like, I need to work my core on Wednesdays to have abs. Like, I don't know, like, not really.
Right.
But giving yourself permission, like Bob, we'll go back to him. Trail running. He had to give himself permission to lose muscle mass which
Mhm.
is very hard, especially when you spend a long time building it up.
Right.
He had to give himself permission to watch his strength numbers go way down relative to where they were. Like there's a lot of there's certain things that you just have to be okay with, but he's inspired and enjoys the process of running now.
Mhm.
And that's that. Like
That's, yep. And that's awesome.
you're not
Identify
like,
what inspires you and
you
enjoy it.
don't care if you squat double your body weight, right? You don't care about that, Andy.
No, not in the least. Nope.
Exactly. And so
I care a little bit.
well, sure, there you go.
Yeah, so we're going to work out differently.
Right.
Ricky's inspired by that. Andy is not.
Right.
And so that's where people have to have those real conversations with themselves. And maybe that'll have you going to the gym more. Maybe it'll have you going to it less. I don't know. But there are lots of ways. That one of my friends, Andy, you know Mary Thomas. You did some fitness seminars with her. Mary is a great example of this. She does some stuff in the gym here or there, but she loves biking.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a really good biker, and she just loves biking. Like, and she's taking, photographic scenery, stuff and these trails, and then they do road trips and all of this stuff. Now, if she had a different training program, would she be maybe more well-rounded in all these categories? Maybe, but would she enjoy it? No.
Yeah.
That is something that you can see the happiness in her face with those pictures, and that's awesome.
I love that. There's so many paths to health, and you only get one life. So like focus on the things that you want to do and that you want to be able to do. Don't just try to achieve certain numbers in the gym or certain movements because someone said like, this is something worth doing, or this is something that everyone should be able to do, like a double body weight squat or something like that. Like everyone has their own goals and there are things that inspire them and stuff. And you should be working towards the things that you enjoy that enhance your life. And like you said, Josh, I mean, as long as you're being active and eating healthy and doing all those things, you're going to be a pretty healthy person in the long run, Sure, we can assess you. We might find some places that we could recommend that you maybe should work on these so you don't have some problems down the road or something. But there's a lot of different ways to be healthy and be active. Yep.
And I would say no matter what people choose, they need to have somewhat of a plan, like an actual training plan. And here's where I'll sell us or any coach that you have confidence in. Like, let's say you choose trail running. We'll go back to that. Like Bob's on a training plan. Bob's not waking up Monday morning wondering what he's going to do 10 minutes from now for his workout. And over the 11 years I've done consultations with clients here, then one of the top reasons that they hire us is because they're sick and tired of going to the gym of having no idea what to do.
Yep.
Let alone what to do, but how to do it. Right? So like it gets complicated there. And I don't mean that this is high level programming, but I'm saying you need a plan. Like, do I rest today? Do I stretch today? Do I run today? Do I strength train today? Do I do an antagonistic muscle today? Like there's a lot of things that we know that most don't, that aren't in the field, and that's great. But you need a plan. And
with a goal.
A goal.
Well, maybe I'll touch on one last thing here in this before we move on. Because I just mentioned having hobbies. I think it is a good idea to have some fun things you do outside of the gym. One thing that comes from those sometimes is your hobbies motivate you to then go into the gym and do the work that you need to do. Because like, for example, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Josh, you do that. That's the thing that you're focused on. You're passionate about, you have fun. But when you're in those jiu-jitsu sessions, you notice areas where you're like, oh, I want to be able to do this better. Or I want to be able to do that better. I want to be more competitive. I need to work on this in the gym to complement my Brazilian jiu-jitsu practice. Or me with rock climbing, when I'm out there climbing, I notice like, oh, I'm maybe a little too weak to do this certain move, or I'm not mobile enough to get into this position on the climbing wall that I want to be able to do. And that motivates me when I go into the gym that week to start working on those things. So it can be a nice reinforcing cycle there if you do have hobbies and things that you enjoy doing outside of the gym that you want to get better at, or just be able to do for a longer period of time, well into your later years.
Yeah. And I would say like, if you don't have a goal via the gym or hobby and whatnot, focus extensively on food, sleep, community, friends. Like, again, like being clear, and I'll short sell this again here, but like, if you don't need to be super fit to live long.
No.
Okay, so we'll just be very clear with that. There's no data showing that. Now, should you be healthy body weight, healthy body fat level, good energy levels, good hormones, good sleep patterns, right? Yes. But if you think it's all a drag and you today just can't think of a goal or anything that's remotely inspiring for you to go do physically, I would just spend a lot of time in the kitchen, grocery shopping, get inspired maybe by cooking, have a new social group that's positive. Like, you can become healthy in many ways. We encourage physical activity because I do think that a strength component and mobility component definitely is important. But if it's not for you at that time in your life, then I would put money on this, that if you're reverse it, like I just said, and are focusing on the food, sleep, happiness, social connection, you may then get inspired
Yes.
to then go get more active. Because when I'm feeling great, like I'm dialed in, I want to go work out. I want to go be active. I want to go just do shit. But if you don't find yourself wanting to do shit, my guess is that you're exhausted, toxic, maybe sick, and your body's like, fuck it.
So in this case, the things to correct then are going to be the lifestyle stuff, getting more sleep, getting less stress, eating better, just getting your body to feel better, and being in the gym around all those good people and getting in a better, more positive mindset, just soaking in the positive atmosphere of hopefully that you have at your gym.
And I mean, and that still can be a type of coach that you can get from Co-Movement. We do nutrition coaching. We do lifestyle coaching. So it's not like, we just preach work out in the gym and get sweaty and whatnot. It's really, and personally for me, I would say these lifestyle changes, like you were saying, are way more important than the gym. I could work out in the gym all I want, but if I'm not sleeping properly or eating properly, my body's going to look like crap. I'm going to feel like crap. I'm not going to perform the way I want to perform.
That stuff is far more important than the actual exercises you do in the gym. You got to get that stuff dialed first, get your body to a place where it actually can work out and progress. You just get it healthy in the first place. That should be like the number one goal of everybody.
And I think that's where, when we talked about earlier before we got on this call, where the average person doesn't, like 87% don't accomplish their goal. It's because the base foundation isn't done correct with sleep, nutrition, happiness, stress reduction. So
you're fighting such an uphill battle.
Yeah, you are. And that it would be frustrating. If you keep training hard and you just aren't getting there, but you're missing the elephant in the room. And I know so many of our podcast episodes come back to this full circle thing, but it's like, there is no other way. If I have this great plan in front of me and I slept horrible the night before, I take a rest day, I use the sauna, I go for a walk, I get some sunshine. Like, I go back to what will get me ready to then go have a battle.
My next one is probably one we don't have to talk about too much because we already hit on it, but I was just going to say setting goals. Working out without a plan is never effective. It's good to get some general movement, but if you really want to actually get better over time, you have to have goals that you're working towards. And I would say it's not just setting goals for like a specific program, like maybe a specific 4 to 12 week block or whatever, or maybe you have a long-term, like 1-year goal, but also know what you're trying to accomplish with each individual exercise. Like, have a goal for like, why am I doing this exercise? So you can actually be focused on doing it right to try to get that, whatever it is that you're going for. I think sometimes there is a lack of goals, or the goals can be a little too general. Like, so many times when we start with clients, it's when you ask them about their goals, it's usually, I want to lose some weight and I just want to get fitter. you know, and that's not very specific. So what I do as a trainer, what I do when I have those kind of clients is I start making my own list of goals for them, you know, through the assessment. I see what I think they need. And then over the first few workouts, I start seeing what they're capable of. And I'm tracking all their progress and everything, all the weights they're using. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'd like to see you get to this. I'd like to see you get to that. And then I'm telling them this, because the more specific we can be as far as like what we're trying to achieve, the more motivated you're going to be in your workouts because you actually know what you're doing. And then you can also write an effective plan. But yeah, goal setting is massive. Yep. I think that's missed out on a lot. But one thing I would also like to say here is, and this has been a problem for me in the past, is don't have too many goals. I think there's a lot of people who spread themselves too thin. And I've done this before where I want to achieve this milestone and this milestone and this milestone. And I want to get it strong in all these different ways and mobile in all these different ways. And then you're trying to work on too much at once. Yeah. I found that my own training is far more effective when I have like 2 goals that I'm working towards, maybe 1, 2, or 3 goals at most. And I dedicate myself to those things, or that 1 or 2 things for like whatever it is, 2, 3, 4, up to 6 months. And then I might switch to like different goals or whatever. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add into that, or if you agree or disagree.
Well, I would say also have realistic goals.
Okay, that's another good one. Yep.
You know, you can have your dream goal of whatever that you want to achieve, but you have to realize that you're not going to get there in a month, you know, like some of these advertisement things will promise you.
Right.
But it's like, you got to set small goals along the way and that will lead you to that dream goal over time.
Yep.
And don't get crushed when you don't reach that dream goal right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that people need to keep in mind.
Yeah. And both those things you both brought up lead to like setting goals that lead to small wins all the time. And that's not going to be from a list of 28 goals.
Right.
You're probably going to fail on 26 of them.
Yep.
And so that will be a reinforcing behavior, right? Like, I suck. Why should I set more goals? This and that. I just had a client a few months ago, I think it was around New Year's time, send me, he's in Okinawa, Japan, really dialed in individual, and in the military. And he sent me his goals, and it was like 10 or 12 goals per category in his life, which was like personal, fitness, finance, like down. And I just responded 1 or 2 sentences, and I just said, send me 3 out of all of those. And he responded back like, haha, you know, thank you for that. I was getting stressed out thinking about this, like, you know, because it's just not going to happen, you know. Right. And it's a battle, and for me, all over the place, like business, training, personal, movement, like, oh my gosh. But yeah,
when we start thinking of all the things that we want to get better at, it's very easy to come up with a list of 50 different things.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I want to get better at and improve at in my life, not just fitness. I mean, that too, but like everywhere. So it's really important to look at that really long list that you've got and say, well, what are the really important ones?
Yeah. And I 2 years ago, I wrote a blog post that summarized like my annual year of training and life in general. And I put a section in there where I think and set goals in chunks of 3. So if I'm talking about physical, like what are the 3 goals physically that I'm working towards, right? And then, you know, whatever other areas you set goals in your life, but chunks of 3. In business, I do the same thing, just 3 goals for the year, like podcast, farm, newsletter, boom, boom, boom. And I don't deviate from that hardly at all. Same thing with training, jiu-jitsu, Ito portals, upper body mechanisms, and then lower body maintenance, mobility, done. Like, that's where I plug those holes. But I'm not questioning, it's chunks of 3 for me.
Yeah.
And that leads me from overdoing it. Like, I want to be a great everything else. And just, you know, climber, swimmer, gymnast, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. You pretty good with that, Ricky? You do pretty well with goal setting and keeping yourself.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I think I need to get some more hobbies or hang out with you guys a little bit more, doing some fun stuff. But But other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at setting my own goals for my lifting, my own lifting goals at least.
Nice. Okay. That pretty much brings me to the end of the episode. The only thing I'll add in is maybe just allowing appropriate rest. I think for most people, this isn't too much of an issue, but occasionally you will find someone who overtrains, who wants to go to the gym 6 days a week or whatever, and just understanding that the body does need time to recover and repair. I think for most people, 2 to 4 gym sessions a week is great. But I think most people that we have at our gym are falling right into that category. Occasionally you find someone who does a little bit too much work, and you're like, geez, allow for some recovery time in there. But yeah, appropriate rest is just one that I wanted to make sure I mentioned, just because it is so important.
I've struggled with that in the past, as you know, Andy.
Yeah.
I used to train a lot, but I've actually reframed this in my head. And this helped me tremendously. And maybe anyone that dives down the overtraining category can benefit from this. But I look at rest days as still training days. I'm just training my recovery system.
I love that. Yep.
I'm training my, cortisol system, my testosterone, my whatever it is, right, through the rest day. Inflammation, I'm reducing inflammation. It's still a training day, or I'm using a sauna on a rest day and I'm detoxifying.
Yeah, you've reframed the point where you're saying that rest day has benefits for your body. So you're doing that for a reason that's good for your body and your performance.
Instead of in the past where I would say, oh, I don't get to train today. I want to train. This sucks. Now I feel like shit. I reframed it to say I'm still making tons of benefits in these other areas that has an objective. And this is still a training day. Maybe I'll cook more, or, go for a long walk in the sunshine and restore my vitamin D levels. It's still a training day.
Yep.
Yeah, that helped me a lot, because I got to get up in the morning and say, I'm going to do something productive here.
Yeah, I love that reframe, because some people do fall into the mindset of, if they take a day off, they feel like they just didn't do anything, and they get down on themselves for it. And that's what causes them to go and do an extra session that they don't need, and that will actually set them back, versus actually being able to understand that, no, this is good for me, this day off, or 2 days off, or whatever it is you need, or this deload week. So it's just kind of important to remind some people who do occasionally overtrain. So what do you guys think? Keys to success in the gym. I think we hit most of the important ones there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I think we could probably wrap up this episode then. That's everything on my list.
Yeah, mine too. I had only the 3 things, and we sort of fizzled them into everything.
Cool.
That's cool. No, we're keeping it about an hour, so that works out well. We want to thank everyone for just supporting us and listening and having fun, and hopefully you're taking some value from it. I know that we enjoy doing these. Send us any questions you may have. We've got a few that have definitely rolled in that we've touched on, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share it with friends and family. It helps us to stay motivated and keep going. If you are interested in being a show sponsor or being on the show, this is something we talked about behind the scenes last week. Let us know. We would definitely love to hop on a phone call before and see if it's a good fit. There could be definitely some good, as our channel grows, some good publicity for an individual or a company. So, and then lastly, join Co-Movement. If you're local or remote, we're awesome. We'll get you great results and potentially change your life.
Co-movement.com.
Yeah, co-movement.com. And and same thing on YouTube. Type that in. We're the only one on there.
Or wherever you get your podcast. We're on a lot of different podcast streaming services. So.
Oh yeah, Ricky, that's right. Yeah, can you remind everyone of that? So we're on Spotify.
We're on Spotify. We're on Apple's. I think it's iTunes. We're on Amazon. I mean, we're on 20 different platforms, but we're on definitely the top 3. And wherever else you get your podcasts. So
okay, yeah, that's a great reminder. Good. Awesome. All right, cool. We're sign off and see everyone next week.
All right.
Sounds good.
Take care, guys.
Okay, bye.
See ya.